Sorry. Okay, let me just talk through it. Of course, I wasn't so much prepared for a slide, of course, but yeah. Okay. Good morning, as I said again. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. So for today, we'll be talking about for me for this session, of course, digital.
Is there no right? Is there no street name there that I can use to get the
Okay, I think there's a little bit of. Sorry, if you're not speaking, can you please mute? All right, thank you so much. Okay, so can you see me? Okay.
Yes, we can.
All right, thank you so much. It's been a privilege to be here. Thank you so much for having me here. So this morning we'll be talking about a tech-driven, my focus, right, will be a tech-driven future, right? And of course, having a full understanding of these helps us and helps in narrowing down the conversation, right? Of course, I know the theme is embracing the digital revolution, right? Yeah, I perfectly understand that. Now, when we talk about digital revolution, okay, thank you. Okay, it means, of course, there's a way we do things before, but we don't want to do it that way. We want to do it in a very smart way. I'll give you some scenarios, and of course, I'll tell you how digital transformation has taken place. Some years before now, of course, if you want to take a cab from point A to point B, right, you wave down the taxi and say, hey, I want to move from point A to point B. Now we have technology, we have solutions like Bolt, like Taxify, yeah, both Taxify, same thing, Uber, and all the rest, whereby you can book online to move from point A to point B, right? That's like a digital transformation, right? Before now, if you want to buy anything, you go to the market to see it for yourself and say, okay, I want to buy this, I want to buy that. Now we have the likes of Jumia, we have the likes of Konga that helps us in doing these things effortlessly and of course seamlessly. Now, this is a good definition of digital transformation. Now, when we talk about digital transformation in most cases, they are tech-enabled. Now, when we talk about being tech-enabled, it means they are driven by technology. Now, most of these platforms that I've mentioned, they have software-related implementation that drives them, that pivots them, right? So take, for example, the Bolt, the Taxify, the Uber, sorry, both Taxify, same thing. Uber of this world, they have a mobile app that helps them in doing things. Now, they do what we do normally, but they just add a level of technology to it to help in doing it properly and help in doing it in a very, very nice way, right? Now, embracing tech for the future. Now, tech has taken over a lot of things. Now, before COVID-19, we know that, of course, if you want to do anything, you have to do it physically. Now, when COVID-19 took place, when it happened, right, it taught us, it showed us another side of life, whereby we can do things virtually. And I'll take, for example, if you are for those who are teaching or those who are in the classrooms, right, they can actually take their lessons without being physically there. They can do things without being physically in that space, basically. Now let's move on let's move on to the health space, basically. Now, in the health space, we know that a lot of things can be done, like virtual consultation. Most of the health management organization now, you can consult with the doctor virtually, right? And these are some of the things that we can do that can be done, basically, in the tech space, in the health industry. Now, moving on to other industries as well, where tech has impacted and also has affected them positively, right? One of them is the banking sector. Now, I'm sure most of you might have a bank account. I'm also sure that most of you might have also a banking wallet, the likes of my Momo PSB, the likes of OPay, the likes of Kuda, and all the rest. Now, these has taken the way we do things normally to a more seamless way, to a more seamless level. And of course, as I said earlier, these are being done by leveraging on technology, by leveraging on IT solutions, by leveraging on a lot of other things for a digital revolution. Now, we do what we do before, but we don't do it the way we do it before. That's just the definition of digital revolution. Now, in the banking space, before you can deposit any money, you have to go to the bank counter to drop it, to drop your cash. The counter counted, the cashier counted for you. Okay, you want to pay 5,000, you want to pay 2,000. But nowadays, you have what we call agency banking, where we take the money to the POS vendors and drop that basically. Now, that's another way we can say it's a digital transformation. However, this is close to us, this is relatable, right? So that's also a digital transformation. Now, take for example, for payments. Now, most of us pay for DSTV. Gone are the days whereby we buy scratch card. I can still remember, I don't know if anybody can still remember that MTN big scratch card that we have to scratch the silver part away. When was the last time you bought those cards? When was the last time you saw it? Right? I'm saying the one with the silver lining where you have to scratch it. All those are gone, right? They are gone because not because we don't want them again, but because digital revolution has taken place, right? Now we do them via our phones, via our laptop, via our banks, and all the rest. So that's a leg of digital transformation. Now, most of the things that happen now, we can buy airtime from your mobile phone, from your mobile device, basically. Now, all that happens through the support of a software, which means there's a database somewhere that is generating all these serial number for your airtime and all. There's an API that conveys these details to your phone. There's a leg of the debit that debits your bank account and credits your mobile device. Now, all this happens because there is a leg of digital transformation that has taken place in that space. And that's for payment. Now, if you are paying for our DSTV, if you are paying for a couple of things now, when was the last time you went to maybe a DSTV office or a GoTV office to make physical cash for your payments? No, it's been a while. I can't remember last time I've done that actually. Right. So what am I trying to say? Most of these things we do them, but there's a big shift in the way we do them. Right. So payment space is also very, very, it has grown, it has developed, right? Now let's move to the transportation sector. I talked about it a little while ago. Now, if I want to move from point A to point B, right, I can, from my app, I can book, right? Now, if I want to book my flight, of course, I don't need to go to the airlines office to book that. I can do that at the comfort of my home. Now, all these things happen, right, because there is a technology that they are sitting on. Now, and this technology they were sitting on is called, most of them, we can refer to them as softwares, right? So when we talk about softwares, these are written codes or written instructions that are executed through lines of command or lines of instruction that moves data from one point or the other, or give instruction to a system to implement a certain functions. Now, I think that might be too much, but in other words, software are like is like a way of telling computer to do A, B, and C in form of code, right? So that's what it means basically. Now, before most of these things, let's take for example the scratch card, the airtime we are buying, right? There's a point whereby the serial number that's being used is generated. For those who still use the paper one, right? To be generated in a database, to be transmitted, it will be printed. Someone will key it in on the mobile phone. It's also being transmitted, validated, and the account, the details of that customer is being impacted with that amount, right? That's another leg of it. There's another leg whereby it debits your account and credits your mobile wallet, right? Mobile phone. That's another side of things. Now, all these are software driven. So which means someone must have written the code and say, hey, debit this particular account, credit this particular account. Now, let's now focus on the software development side of things, basically. Now, when we talk about software development, there are different angles of software development, right? There are different career paths. We have the front-end engineers, we have the back-end engineers, we have the product designers, we have the UI UX designers, we have the DevOps engineers, we have the Scrum Masters, we have the IT business analysts, we have the software testers, and a whole lot of them, right? Now, here's where it gets interesting. I will use an analogy to describe things and make it easier for you, right? Take for example, we want to build a car, okay? I will use the car analogy to describe what each of these roles, what they do, okay? Now, take for example, a client comes and say, okay, I want to build a car. Now, the first question that comes to us is, what kind of car do you want to build, right? Now, that's where the product manager, the IT business analyst comes in, and they'll say, okay, let's get the kind of car you want. Is it a saloon car? Is it a bus? Is it an SUV car or whatever it is, right? We get those down. Now, that process of getting the requirements, okay? That process of asking the questions is called a requirement gathering process, right? So the product managers, the IT business analysts, and all, they manage that process. Now, once we've gotten all these, right, the process of designing what we have, okay? Now, if we want to design the car, we need to do a kind of prototype and say, okay, I want to design this car. This is how I want it to be. Want it to look like this. Want it to look like that. Look like this and that. Want it to have 2 tires and all the rest. Now, when we design a prototype, that's where the product designers or UI UX comes in. They design what we want to achieve, right? Now, the front end engineers, right? They are the one that design the carcass of the car. When I say carcass, I mean the frontal part, the bonnet, the door, and all the rest. They design all that. Now, the back-end engineers, they are the one that design the logic. They design the logic of that system, basically. Now, when I say the logic of that system, I'm talking about the logic, how that system works, and of course, how it's being implemented. Now, take for example, in a car, like the major logic there is the engine, right? So the software engineers, they will be the one to build the logic of how it works. And of course, they do all these at the code level. And also all these are being done in such a way that the written code can run and can work. Now, that's just a way of giving you a good analogy of how these roles and of course what they do. Of course, we might do some level of research do more research on what they do at a detailed level, of course, but this is just the high level of what each of these roles do basically. Now, moving on to how we can learn these things. Of course, there are different online platforms that we can use. We can use Coursera, edX, Pluralsight, Google, YouTube, Web3, and a couple of them to learn some of these skills at different phases, at different cadre, depending on how well we want to learn and grow in it, right? Now, software development is a field that's at the forefront of the digital revolution. Now, digital revolution will not, in most cases, be possible if there is no software solution to drive it. Most of these industries that I've spoken about earlier, they rely majorly on software products to drive the initiative, to drive the implementation, and also to help in the implementation of whatever they need to do. Now, so the digital revolution has taken place in the fintech space, in the banking industry, in payments, in education, in health sector, transportation, telecoms, and mention them. A whole lot of them, a whole lot of these industries have witnessed and have experienced digital transformation. But what is it? What's in it for yourself and myself? We need to look for a point whereby we can plug ourselves, not just plug ourselves, learn, grow, and of course, harness most of these skill sets that can help us in play in these roles. Now, these skill sets can be used regardless of the industry, regardless of the sector, and of course, regardless of the solution that the customer or the client are trying to build for a digital transformation process, basically. Now, for us, digital transformation also needs to affect us, the way we do things. Of course, the way we save our money might not be the way we used to do back then, right? That might we have to take all the money and put it in the bank. Of course, there are different apps now that helps us in managing our finances, that helps us in managing our day-to-day life, that helps us in managing our work life. Of course, there are calendars and all basically. Now, for us as individuals, we need to identify where can I play, which area, which industry, or what can I do to see that I can plug myself into some of this industry across different fields, across different parts, and of course, what can I do? Now, these are some of the questions that helps and that can actually guide, right? So, as I said earlier, we have different career paths, different career fields. We have the software engineers, we have the front end engineers. They are in charge of designing what you can see. Take, for example, if you click on YouTube, the frontal part where you can see, right? It's a front end engineer that built it, right? Also, how they call out when you click the button to play, right? There's a call that goes to the back end and say, okay, this person wants to play this video. Now that was done by backend engineer, whereby receive instruction from the front end, take it to the back end to process it and obey that instruction. Now the product designers designs how it will look like, how it's designed, and of course how it should interact basically. So that's the role of the product designers basically. Also, we have user interface and user experience designers to design how these screens interact, how it all play up. Now, DevOps engineer, when we talk about DevOps engineer, they are in charge. Once you write all these codes and we build them, right? These DevOps engineers picks up this code and deploy it in an environment where everybody can access it basically. Now, once they push this code to an environment where everyone can access it, everybody can click on it and access it regardless of the location, as long as they have the URL for that implementation. For that implementation, basically. So it helps. That's the role of a DevOps engineer. Now, Scrum Masters, they are like the ones that facilitate the development process and, of course, they're like the project managers that drive the implementation of the initiative. We also have software testers. They are the one that helps in guiding and driving quality assurance, right? So take, for example, we build a car. They will test it, they will drive it. Okay, let's drive it for 10 kilometers and see what happens, right? So that's their role, basically, software testers, right? So these are some of the roles that we can take on in the software career space. And as I said earlier, software plays a pivotal role in digital transformation and digital revolution. Yeah, at a high level, at this point, I'll just take a pause. If there are questions or observations or anything, please let me know so that I can answer or provide a good response to it. Thank you.
Please, do you have any question, any contribution? You can use the chat or just simply raise your hand and we'll call you up to speak. Please, do you have any question? I'm checking the chat now. You can simply raise your hand and we'll call you up to speak.
Stop.
Yeah, Mr. Ayo,
Okay,
there's a
yeah, I
question
saw
here
that.
in the
Okay.
chat. Yeah, are there disadvantages of embracing digital transformation?
Yeah, so everything that has advantage will definitely have a disadvantage, right? I'll answer this question with a scenario, right? Um, okay, so before now, right, we used to have in Lagos, we used to have the yellow taxis, right? That picks up people, and of course, before you enter, you negotiate with them, they will charge you. For now, let's take a little switch. Now we have Bolt, we have ride hailing services, and now on the long run, most of those yellow taxis, they don't get customers, right? Now a digital transformation has taken place, right? Which makes it easier for people to book and order for rides. On the flip side of things, it's affecting some people, right? And of course, their vehicle might not meet the criteria of each of these ride hailing services. But of course, their vehicle can still move, right? Now, the disadvantage is the fact that, of course, yeah, quote and unquote, kicked out of business. Of course, they might still be getting some money here and there, but in the long run, right, they're kind of kicked out of the business. So yes, there's advantage and we have disadvantages. So for the disadvantage is that those who are not dynamic enough to move with the tide, they might get kicked out of market or business, right? Now, those who can properly pivot and move in the direction of of embracing digital transformation, of course, they will enjoy it, right? That's just one of it. Also, for the disadvantage of it, um, take for example, I'll use another scenario whereby the likes ordering online, right? Now, take for example, you want to order for, let's say, clothes online and all, right? I don't know if get to hear things like what I ordered versus what I got, right? So it happens in some cases whereby you've selected what you want, but maybe the size or the quality is not as what you were expecting, right? Of course, there's a digital transformation in the way we buy things. However, some people are exploiting it to cheat people, right? Some people are exploiting it to sell not so quality items. Of course, that is like an advantage. Sorry, that's like a disadvantage in some space, right? Now let's move on to the payment side of things, right? Now we have agency banking, we have online payments. Now there are huge fraudulent transactions happening online. The aim initially was to make payments simple, make payments easy, to make payments seamless. But nowadays, some people are taking advantage of that to defraud people, to cheat people, right? Is it so? Payments in the digital transaction space, is it good? Yes. Are people being defrauded? Yes. So that is also like a disadvantage of it. The most important thing is use it in a very secured way, use it in a way that will benefit you and others, and don't use it in a way that can be fraudulent. Also, if you see something that is not too right, say something about it. Don't just keep quiet, of course, because the next person who might fall victim of it might be someone close to you. So, in a nutshell, there are disadvantages of digital transformation. However, the advantages outweighs and outnumbers the disadvantages. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for that. There are still more questions here. And someone is asking, why is it that here in Nigeria, companies ask if one is certified in an expertise? When the answer is no, they do not even think of what you know. They just move on without knowing one is more knowledgeable in current trends.
Okay, no, so let me answer that. Yeah. So certifications are good, right? they are a way of crystallizing what you've known and what your experiences are. Now, if you are just starting, right, it is okay to take certification in that career path you want to go. Okay. Remember, there are 1,001 people who are also applying for the role that you are applying for as well. So there must be a differentiating factor. If you don't have so much of experience, let's say 2, 3 years of experience, I'll strongly suggest that you take a certification in that your particular field, right? Now, certification tells them, okay, what you know has been proven in an industrial, like using industry benchmark and industry standard, that yes, you know it, right? Now, if you can take a certification in your part, in your chosen field, right, a relevant certification, right, that you can use, please, by all means, go for it. It will help you. It will give you a good way of marketing yourself. And of course, now when we talk about certification are not so expensive. Of course, you can take certification. When they talk about do you have certification, if you've done something on Coursera, if you've done something on EDX, if you've done something on Pluralsight, you can tell them, yes, I've done this, I've done this, I've done that, right? And if you have other big certifications, yes, go for it. Okay. Um, if so, let me also put it here. Rejections are normal, right? Rejection, people will reject you. It's normal. If you apply in 10 places, the 10 of them might reject you, 2 of them might take you. However, it is, rejections are normal. But the key thing is don't let that rejection affect you. Don't let it affect the way you've learned, the way you're growing, everything. Don't let it affect you, right? If you have the opportunity to learn to take certification, please, by all means, go for it. Now, if you have a chance to tell them what you know, if you don't have full certification, please, if it's via mail, if it's verbal, say it. Tell them what you've done. Now, if you've also contributed on projects, right, that are tied to your career space or tied to your sector, please showcase those projects and let them know that you've done certain things. You've done you've done these things. Mm, yeah, so sorry for that. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is if you have the opportunity to shed more light on what you've done, right? Please do it, say it, showcase it when you have the opportunity. Now, if you have the certification, also showcase it as well. All right, I think that's that about that, basically.
Oh,
Okay, I
thank
can
you so
see.
much.
Okay, I can see
Yeah,
also on that
there are more
section.
questions.
Yeah, why is it that here in Nigeria, companies ask if you're certified in an expertise? Okay.
You just answered that. Yeah,
Yeah,
so the next question here is how can businesses harness the power of big data and analytics to make informed decisions?
okay. Thank you so much for that wonderful questions, right? At every point, right, we generate data. At every point, we also need those data. Now, take for example, for me as a business, I keep a record of my sales, basically, right? My sales in January, sales in February, sales all through the year, all through the months. Now, if I have this record, it's a good way of telling me when it will show me the time where I have a huge sale, like in my numbers. Is it towards the end of the month? Is it towards the start of the month? Or is it towards December period? Or is it towards the mid-year? Now, these are ways of harnessing the data that you have. However, it is also important how you collect this data. Remember, you can collect your data as simple as using Excel, right? You can collect data as simple as using something very basic, something very easy, something minimal, right? But you need to have a way of making meaning out of this data, basically, right? You need to have a way of making meaning. Now, Power BI Excel and all helps in doing all this basically. Yeah, I think I've answered that.
All right, thank you so much for that, sir. So a hand was up. Elijah Moses has a question to ask. So I think you can just unmute and ask the question, Elijah.
All right. Thank you so much, sir. Okay. Yes. So my question actually it's cut across the area of organizations that are quite slow to adopting the digital revolution, right? So in a case where certain organizations are maybe not so much exposed, all right, what ways or what possible ways do you think that as individuals working in this organization, we could make possible suggestions to the organization about certain trends in tech that they can adopt to improve productivity overall? Yes. So organizations as such, how do you think we can actually make this possible? All right, without feeling the stress of too many manual labor. Yeah.
So if I hear your question, you are saying you're
Hello?
you're trying to
Hello?
ask if, so someone say something? Are you trying to ask how organizations can
Hello?
leverage?
Who is Friday?
Okay, I think, okay, let me rephrase the
Can you
question.
hear me?
Okay.
All right, Mr.
I
Sunday.
can hear you.
Okay. All right, can I rephrase the question?
Yes, please go.
All right, so I said, for organizations that are slow to adopting digital revolution, specifically in the case of like Nigeria, which most of us we are in, all right, what are the possible ways you think that suggestions to such organization, all right, about them trying to adopt the current trend in technology can come in without them seeing it as something against the norms they have with their end? So yeah, that's the question: how to present the adoption of certain digital technologies to an organization that are strictly dependent on manual range of things. Yes, sir.
Okay, so if I hear you correctly, so how they can harness, you mean what companies can do in a not so costly way to drive digital transformation, if I hear you correctly? Is that what you're trying to ask?
Okay, from more like an individual point to the company. Okay, let me make like a case scenario. Let's say I work with X company, for instance, right?
Okay.
And their X company there's a way they've been doing the things they've been doing. They're not so much adapted to this technology, revolution and things like that. In fact, they might even see it as offense against the norms. So if X company don't necessarily want to join the trend of the tech revolution, in what way do you think I can make the suggestion, all right, to them to adopt technology to enable them do things faster without the sense of offense coming from the management or from the organization?
Okay, I get a question now. So a good way of doing that is in two ways, right? Now, speak with some key stakeholders there, right? Get their buy-in. If you can get those people's buy-in, it will be easier. Secondly, if you can use that tool or that technology on your own to achieve it for the company as your personal project, then come to the company and show them the result that, see, this solution, this innovation does things like this. And here are the benefits. Show them what it can do. Show them what you've done, even if it costs you to be the one to doing it yourself. And of course, it might be a bit costly or a bit expensive, but do it and show them that this is what it can do. This is what it has done. By that, you can get their buy-in. Yeah, so also you can get some stakeholders on your side, right? And of course, show them what it has done. If possible, show them testimonials of companies that have used it before, and of course, how it has helped them. Yeah, I think that will work.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
All right, thank you so much for that, sir. I'm sure that question has been answered. Okay, so I think there's also another question, but I'm not sure it's any different from what Elijah asked. The person is asking, when you work for an organization that isn't embracing digital information transformation with the speed of light, what do you suggest to the person? Should the person quit or keep persuading the organization?
So let me just chip in a bit. Of course, key thing is when you persuade, of course, make sure you are talking to the right set of people. A lot of
Yeah.
companies don't want to change, right? If there's a way I've been doing it for the past 20 years, and you're telling me, come and telling me to, and you're telling me to do it in a new way that I'm not so familiar with. If the leadership, if they are not change driven, right, there'll be some kickbacks basically, right? So if you as a person you are suggesting a change, normally expect kickbacks, right? People will not normally embrace change. It is normal, okay? But now for you as a person, push it. Who exactly are you talking with? And make sure that you're getting people's buy-in. Don't just tell me to stop using Excel and move to Power BI. Tell me why I'm moving. If possible, show me how Power BI is better than Excel, right? Not just tell me, okay, Power BI is better than Excel. If possible, show me. If it's possible, you can also get a trial version and they can test it and say, okay, use this, let few people use it and let it show the result. Now, if you are getting so much pushbacks, right, and you've showed them, push a bit more as long as you have the intention of it helping the organization. Of course, keep pushing. But when you've pushed to a point whereby you see that there's no traction and this change might not necessarily yield, then of course it's okay to um to start looking elsewhere, right? I'm saying looking elsewhere, I mean looking for an environment that supports and can enable that kind of change that you're working for. However, don't just give up after first or second attempt. Like push aggressively. And when I say aggressively, I don't mean don't push in an annoying way, but push in a way that, of course, people can understand and relate with them, with what you're trying to push for, right? A good example is Excel and Power BI, right? So don't just tell me to leave my Excel. Why am I leaving it? Tell me the benefit of why and what I'm changing to. This will help in convincing. Also, identify the key people who can call the shots and, of course, make those decisions. So if you're just telling a secretary to change from Excel to Power BI, she'll be like, why? But if you're talking to people at the managerial level and tell them, okay, this is why we can use Power BI, this one we can use SQL and all. Yeah, you can get those people's buy-in, of course. You won't need to get the buy-ins of people, you won't need so much effort to get the buy-ins of people who are maybe the secretary or the lower level in the organization. Yeah, so those are the few things I'll suggest. Thank you.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much for that, sir. So final question from my end before we move on to our next speaker here. So we have on for education and learning, especially in the Nigeria sector where we are. How can traditional educational institution integrate or embrace this digital revolution for better learning outcomes?
Okay, thank you so much for that brilliant question. Now, when we talk about education or learning is extremely important. It starts it's a pivotal tool in digital transformation. Take for example, I've built my solution, but I don't teach people how to use it. Of course, that might not really work, right? Now, there are different ways of learning, right? There's an approach, so there are two ways, right? It's either I go the document way, I write all what I need to let people know, the documents in form of user manual, in form of other documentation, right? And I save it in a drive where people can access it. Or I do a live session just like we're having now, right? I have with people and teach them. There's also another leg of it where we can actually record the videos, right, and still save it somewhere where people can actually have access to it in a later time, and of course access those videos for learning. Now these are different avenues, these are different ways of doing things, right? So these are ways whereby the education space can also leverage on digital transformation and to pass across their learnings. YouTube is also an avenue for us to learn. Now, if you are an educational institute, you can either decide, do you want to be making money from your learning? Right? You can have a YouTube channel whereby you create your topics, people watch it, people subscribe to your channel, and on the long run, you can make money from it. Right? That's also another way whereby educational institutes can also leverage on learning. They can also build a learning management system whereby like a system whereby people come there to learn, to to learn about digital skills, learning platform like EDX, Pluralsight, Coursera, and all the rest. Those are learning management systems, right? Organization can also build that if they need to. I think that's the way I can suggest basically.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much. I'm sure we are all enjoying this session. For those of you joining us from Gombe and those of you joining us from Ibadan and Yaba, we're so happy to have you here. So please still stay connected with us. We'll be bringing up our next speaker shortly. We'll be calling on Oluwatofumi to send or pass a message about our Bincom Tech Network. So in case you're here and you want to continue this conversation, you want to connect with other experts or other techies in the tech industry, our Bincom Tech Network is for you. So Oluwatofumi, I think you can unmute and talk about it. Okay, so we don't waste so much time. We'll just move on to our second speaker for today's session. And please, if you still have more questions, more contributions you'd like to chip in, you can always drop them in the chat. But we're calling on our second speaker now. And our second speaker is Mr. Denka Adebowale. Mr. Denka is a senior full stack software engineer with a good experience in the software industry. Is driven by innovation and also by leading teams and translating business requirements to deliver quality solutions by making the best use of technology with an agile mindset, and can increase team productivity efficiency by at least 15%. He has experience across the whole life cycle of software development with also a strong understanding of version control and microservice. So the floor is yours now, Mr. Adenka. Thank you so much for joining us.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
I'm excited to be here to share a bit of what we need to know in embracing the digital revolution. I'm trying to share my screen, though this session is not going to be a formal presentation, but for the introductory part of the session, I just want to keep this screen off so that it can create a sense of illustration of what we are intending to talk about in this session. I want you to pay attention as we proceed in this session. As introduced by the host, my name is Adeyinka Sana Adebowale. I'm a senior software engineer. Digital revolution, as the name implies, I want to go by the literal definition, then speak a bit about the influence or the impact that the digital revolution is having on our day-to-day life. I'm sure everyone who has joined this call or this event this afternoon got informed through a media. And virtually, most of us on this attending this session joined virtually. And that is made possible by what we are about talking about this afternoon, the digital revolution. It is important to speak about the digital revolution and to prepare ourselves in embracing what comes with the revolution we are talking about. If we remove digital from the theme and we say revolution, I'm sure a number of people probably in the government agencies or people in government will be afraid, because when you say revolution, it means something else, which may be a outthrow of social order to reinstate a new system of doing things. And then in the real sense, when you bring digital back to the team, technology is doing the same thing digitally, but somehow it may not be possible. All right. Sorry about that. So the digital revolution is a very important topic to speak about, and we need to understand why we need to embrace the digital revolution. I'm sure at a point in time in our life, we will have heard something about being a scapegoat. And I'm sure no one ever wants to be a scapegoat. You never want to be caught doing that act where you'll be singled out to say a sense of justice is served on you, and you become like an example for others so as not to follow the same thing. That is why it's very important for us to embrace the concept of digital revolution, so that at any point in time, we may not find ourselves to be someone who is a scapegoat, who people will want to look up to and not to follow his or her footsteps. We'll be looking into how things that worked yesterday and probably things that are still working today will be driven away by the reality of tomorrow. This looks a bit ambiguous, because some things that have been working yesterday, probably they still work today. But in reality, the reality of tomorrow would actually drive them away. Every aspect of daily living will eventually be affected in one way or another by the digital age, if it hasn't already. The digital revolution is accelerating at an unprecedented rate, introducing new way of communicating, doing businesses, and learning. I'm sure a number of us are still around, maybe probably young, when the leading brand in handset production was Nokia. But during a session in 2016, a popular statement attributed to the CEO of Nokia then, who says, we did nothing, we didn't do anything wrong, but somehow we lost. This is not what every organization we want to say, but the reality on ground, when it presents itself to us, they have no other option to be bold about the reality. We know Nokia to be a technology company, right? And they've been doing what they are able to do in a way where anyone looking at the company from afar will know that they create high quality products. But when the digital revolution caught them by surprise by the advent of smartphone and probably introduction of Android devices and iOS, they become phased out by competitors due to a number of reasons, being that maybe they do not embrace the current trend in the ecosystem. Don't forget that it's not a question of unparticipatory. You are participating as a technology company, but it's far more beyond participation. It's what we term as innovation. You have to stay ahead of innovation to be relevant. And what companies should be looking after today is to retain their global relevance, or even if it's local relevance, you can at least maintain. Ensure that you are ahead of innovation to maintain your relevance, at least with your competitors, so that you don't get phased out by what is happening around you. In the same year, after the United States general election, the presidential election, it was also claimed that Trump's activity on social media, such as Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, played a pivotal role in his victory in the 2016 US general election. These are not just by coincidence. And I'm sure it's not that the competitors are not also involved or do not involve themselves in social media activities. But you don't just want to be the scapegoat to be caught by what your competitors are doing well. You may be doing so well, but it's far more beyond doing just well. Stay ahead of innovation, even when you are participatory in the technology field, so as not to serve as a scapegoat for others. Overall, we need to be aware and to constantly try to innovate and improve as we transit the era of digital revolution. Today, it's far more beyond the social media activity. When Facebook started, it started like a social media platform for communication. Same thing when Twitter started and all other social media. But today, there are places where people go to engage in their day-to-day business activity. As a media, for passing information and communicating with your customers, and probably attract investment or entice partners to joining you in the business world as of today. This background is necessary so that everyone stay aware, and it awakens a sense of responsibility so that you start participating, and not just participating, be involved in innovation as well, so that you can stay ahead of competition and you, at the end of the day, not phased out by things happening around you. We can recall that just to organize events like this in the past is not such an easy endeavor. Everyone joining virtually now. Before the COVID-19 pandemic, which demonstrate that we need to find a better way of doing things when what you hear on a daily basis is that there's lockdown, and it's actually hinders free movement of person or people. It affects businesses and various aspects of our life. It makes people to sit back, to analyze their day-to-day business operations or activities and look for a better way to proceed so that they can become relevant during the trying time and after by taking the positive from this period. We know companies that sprung during this period of time. Some businesses excel because they were able to adapt themselves to the change in the ecosystem. And what I mean by ecosystem there is the business environment. Digitalization affects so many aspects of our life. It has influence in the healthcare sector. For patients, digital healthcare help people to provide information so that they can make informed decisions about their health, provide an option for early diagnosis for life-threatening diseases and other chronic conditions outside of traditional healthcare sector. And for healthcare providers, digital health gives a holistic view of patient health, accurately diagnoses disease, and enhance delivery of health services for individuals. We know about telehealth, we know telemedicine, which gives people access to health information and probably remote diagnosis of their health condition, and making people to be proactive at their convenience and take decisions about their health. It's not a question of, I'm not concerned about the digital era or happenings around me. If you cease to participate, at the end of the day, irrespective of the career path or how glamorous your career is, if you refuse to adopt the ever-changing reality in the ecosystem, you'll be phased out. Imagine someone needs healthcare service during the pandemic and there's no form of your health facility has no form of reaching out to patient or communicating, or where people or where patients can reach your organization. You don't have facility for remote diagnosis. The basis of Facebook, Instagram, and many other social media are also pivotal in doing this as well. But far reaching beyond that, we have mobile apps, websites that offer remote diagnostics to patients anywhere you are in the world. Far beyond just social media and maybe the marketing or sales part of the health sector. Wearable medical devices are also things that are becoming common now. For health rate sensor, exercise tracker, sweat meter, and oximeter, the number of them, they are there to help people to improve their lifestyle by having information about their health, and this helps them to make informed decisions about their health. We have 3D bioprinting. This creates medical devices and even helps in area of surgery, such as when you may they now implant machine in people to be a sort of life support system. We have the blockchain technology to help improve accuracy in keeping medical record and also cut costs in managing health information. We have virtual and augmented reality, where technology is employed to treat stress disorder, mental health issues, and lots more. Far more beyond using drugs to kill pain nowadays. Psychologically, people play virtual reality games that helps to reduce stress or pain for a particular ailment they have. So that's that about the healthcare sector and how the digital revolution is playing a pivotal role in transforming how things are being done. A patient may not necessarily need to move physically to the nearest or even the remote healthcare facility to gain access to healthcare information and probably diagnosis and treatment about any such ailments they have. Let's talk about a bit of influence of digital revolution in the healthcare sector, in the education sector now. With digital technologies, teachers can now use simulations, gamification, and virtual reality to make learning more interactive and engaging. They can also use social media and other online platforms to connect with students and create collaborative learning experience, thereby making education fun-filled. I remember in our days where a smartphone does not even exist, not to talk about the popularity. Nowadays, as young as a 2-year-old kid is able to interact with smartphone or technology devices to aid their learning in a fun-filled way, be it in form of games or video tutorials or aided videos, so as to improve how information are being passed to kids as well. This helps in improving productivity in the education sector. It's not a news any longer that we have online libraries. The advent of distance learning, where you can, from the comforts of your home, bag a degree in any field of study you may want to. As long as the quality of the information passed or the methodology employed in passing learning resources to people around the world, digital transformation is also doing it here. Digital revolution is revolutionizing how things are, how the education system works nowadays. I remember then when you want to obtain form for JAMB or WAEC, when you need to line up at the post office just to obtain form for the JAMB examination, then those are things of the past now, where with the advent of digital technology, you can book a session at the nearest ICT center. Then you go there at your convenience without any form of paperwork, and you get registered for the examination. And now, the advent of CBT, where you don't have to interact with paper and pen, but through the use of software, you can actually sit for an exam at the comfort of your room. To check your results is no more a problem. People changing institution and all. This is how the technology has been revolutionizing the education sector. Now in the business world, it is easier for individuals to embrace technology than the industries that are the producing industries who need to invest in tools to improve their productivity. Even if a company doesn't want to do, there's no one who wouldn't want to make much more profits. Everyone wants to make profits. You can companies start by improving their marketing and sales through by employing technology in the value chain. Things like sales analysis, having a website where people, where products are being posted and people can buy from the comfort of their home. But far more beyond that is the operations or the manufacturing activities, which are not easy to switch. But there will be a need to do to improve efficiency and to attract people. And I'm very sure people want to work, people want ease of work as well. No one wants to use the archaic method of doing things. If you are to work in an organization where to write your reports, you have to do everything digitally, and somewhere else where you have to use pen and paper for documentation, I'm sure everyone will want to choose where with just click of a button, you can finish the task of the day. In the manufacturing industries, industries now automate some of the manual processes, which have been the practices from the time being. So the whole process of production in some of the industry are now automated, and it makes life easier, and by improving productivity and efficiency of the different stages in the value chain. This doesn't end there. These days, industry employ data analysis in making informed decisions about their products, their sales, and services in form of customer support, that after sales services. Industries now get feedback, real-time feedback as to how their products are doing in the market. I'm very sure most of us who have purchased products one time or the other online, you've been asked to give review about the product. It's not just for other users to be able to see how well the product is doing. It helps organizations in making informed decisions about their products as well. Organizations are now able to create personalized products, create varieties of products that give people opportunity to choose between varieties of products and which one suits their lifestyle. Organizations that want to stay relevant in the digital revolution age needs to do some things. They must be customer-centric. This is when the demand for products is actually driving what the industry produce. Don't just produce anything. You produce what your customers need. You need to be digital by default. Make yourself available where people can reach you. Technical excellence. Look inward to the processes involved in the operations in your organization, and invest in innovation. Listen to workers or employees as to improving the products. Invest in tools to make life easy for your employees, because at the end of the day, that's play a pivotal role in retaining employees as well. Inclusive meritocracy. Analyze what aspect or who is actually responsible for growth in your organization, and reward the productive individual. Outside the industrial revolution or digital revolution in the industry, socialization has changed a bit, though human to physical interaction has reduced. But right in the comfort of your room, you can communicate with people in other regions of the world. You might not have met them physically before, but you are able to communicate with anyone, anywhere in the world through technology. I remember sometimes ago, my mom told me about something that happened before the popularity of mobile phone in Nigeria, when the means of communication then was people still use letter, communicate by letter. So she mentioned to me then that she wasn't at home with her parents, and they received the letter, but until after 2 months when she came back and after read the letter, it's when they got notified that they lost someone close to them. Then it's a different ballgame. You may not be someone who can read and write, but yet the ease of communication has improved. We have people that are of age now who are able to operate mobile devices. At least they can pick calls, even though they may not be able to read and write. So it is the communication aspect of our life. You can't be isolated except you choose to. So it opens another platform where people can socialize. The financial system is also not left behind. The advent of internet and mobile banking, mobile wallets, and I'm very sure that a number of us here do not just use mobile apps that are owned by conventional banks. Fintechs are also playing a very important role in redefining the financial system. Another important thing is the blockchain technology, which gives freedom for information sharing in a more effective way. Transactions are done with blockchain technology. Everyone knows about cryptocurrency, though something which serves as an hindrance, which I'm going to talk about in the later part of my presentation, is policies, government policies. And this will lead me to mentioning about effects of digital transformation or revolution on governance, and how we can employ digital technology in improving our governance to improve transparency, communication with citizens. It helps also to check corruption by eliminating human contacts. I've never heard where a machine, you can bribe a machine, right? Because people may want to bribe their way, but if it is machine, you can't bribe a machine except somebody is behind it. So also improve service delivery, ease of governance, and it helps government in data capturing as well, where you know information about the citizen. Then this other aspect of digital transformation, the employment part. Every day, new career, there are new career fields coming up. You have data analysts, data scientists playing pivotal roles, software engineers, product design, product designer, DevOps engineer, and all other new fields that people are now. You can be and the advent of remote work as well. You can be at the comfort of your room and work for anyone, anywhere in the world. People are also willing to do certain work now because of the increased productivity and efficiency, because they may not need to do so much because they are already aided by technology. Technology has its advantages, but we need to be aware of some things so that we don't find ourselves in trouble. You need to be aware of legal framework and know that anything you plan to do, though there's freedom of speech, but people do say freedom is not guaranteed after the speech in some cases. So know what you say, know what you do. Don't involve in illegal businesses, because this may cost you far more than the advantage at the end of the day. Then be aware of cybersecurity risk. People now do fraudulent activity on internet. Be aware. Don't say I'm not concerned. Empower yourself to be security conscious, because at the end of the day, you have no one to blame than yourself. They say ignorance is not an excuse. And if you think education is expensive, try ignorance. I'm very sure no one wants to be a scapegoat by not adopting the digital revolution. Embrace it. It's in most of the cases friendly. And above all, knowledge is the key asset in the digital transformation era. Leverage your knowledge to innovate and play your part as well in this era. To involve everyone in this revolution, we must provide an equal playing field for all, meaning that we should all have good access to the internet and any digital service that is created. We all have different capabilities, but by including the society as a whole in this revolution, each individual's digital literacy will improve, creating a scenario where we have the required skills needed in all circumstances. Involving everyone does not mean that we will all have the same understanding and level of ability in ICT skills, but we must be or have a situation where all generations feel comfortable in using digital devices and technologies. Even for our elder citizens, the digital world must become a friend to us rather than something to be hesitant about. Thank you very much for the audience.
Oh, wow, that was really a packed one. Thank you so much, Mr. Adenka. I really enjoyed the session. So please, do you have questions? I'm sure you have lots of questions, and he's very open to answer these questions. Our first speaker, I think, has dropped off because he had other engagements. But please, we have Mr. Adenka now, and he's open and ready to answer your questions. So please, if you have any question, kindly drop it here in the chat. I think for me, I have a couple of questions. So my first question is this: what emerging technologies should individuals and businesses keep an eye on when embracing the whole digital revolution?
All right, thank you very much. Information is key. And like I said, far beyond being just operational efficiency, you need to stay ahead with innovative ideas. And the driving force is not just the kind of technology, but how well you are able to use the tools you have at your disposal.
Yeah.
What works for feed A may not necessarily work for feed B due to the dynamic nature of the ecosystem. But far beyond making a decision, invest in research and have knowledge on what is happening in the field. So sometimes if you are not a player, or some people are drivers to these changes, the giant tech companies, right? They actually create or drive the revolution somehow. But in every field, right, it's important to always think of operational efficiency through innovation. So it may be mobile, it may be web, it may be any form of device or tools you may need to use. Ensure that people are able to reach your business and engage yourself in anything that makes you relevant in your field. This is not a consulting session. I mean, you may want to ask professionals as well for any field you engage in. So it's important to be accessible. That's just the basis of it. And think deeply about what you do as a business. I wouldn't want to say this is what you need to do, because you may do it and it may not be the right thing to do at the end of the day. Don't be rigid with any choice. Follow the trend. You can as well innovate as well. So there are so many technologies outside there. You need to just decide on which one suits your business. I'm sure what suits a music industry will not be the same thing that suits an educational platform or an IT industry. I don't know if that answers the question. So singling out any technology may not work, right? Focus on what makes your business relevant. Always analyze the kind of data you have and improve based on that.
All right, thank you so much for that, sir. I think that has really answered my question. So someone is asking from Gombe, how can we handle government policies that aren't favorable? A case study of Nigeria and crypto.
All right. I understand with the kind of environment we find ourselves, some things are not just going the way we want them to go, right? But we need to do anything we engage in diligently as well and within the legal framework. Until you are able to make impact or make change, try as much as possible to stay away from policies that will, at the end of the day, create some sort of inconvenience or will create grave consequence for any individual. But it is important as well to engage the political class, like in anything we want to, in refining the government, the governance as well. So just like the first speaker said, that you don't try to do things in arrogant way. If you are concise in the way you do your stuff, right, you will find an effective way of communicating your idea. It may be in form of a self-sacrifice from you to show or prove that what you are trying to suggest will be better than the existing system. And I'm very sure everyone wants to be recognized or to be a pioneer as well, to say, I was the one who encouraged this during my time in governance. I pushed this policy. I can remember when people praised one of the past presidents to say he was the one who adopted to the mobile telecommunication in Nigeria, right? And even though he wasn't a professional in that field, but through making policies as well, and I'm very sure it will have come through proper documentation and being able to communicate clearly with the relevant stakeholders in government, so that you can achieve whatever you want to achieve. Irrespective of the situation you find yourself, try as much as possible to push your agenda so as to make people see the good in what you are trying to push and not the other way around. So keep pushing, like he said. But first of all, you may need to sacrifice some things in your path as well, so that the government can see. And something important here is that we are in a global village now. If a government policy doesn't suit you well in a particular geographical location you are, and you think it's favorable somewhere else, the floor is open. You can push to migrate or you can do businesses outside your geographical location as well, but ensure that it's within the legal framework of any country you are trying to establish in as well. It's very important. Though we've seen even people with great inventions that their inventions were discovered even after their death, right? So you can only kill the messenger and not the message they are trying to preach. At the end of the day, with a good intention, somehow your concerns will be addressed and everything will work well. I don't know if I've answered that question.
Yes, sir. I'm sure the person. Okay, yes, he says thank you for that. So thank you for that good feedback on that. So please, does anyone have any other question? Or do you have anything you want to chip in or contribute? Okay, if there's none, please do well to join or continue this conversation in the Bincom Tech Network. The link has already been shared here in the chat, so you can simply just click on it and join the session. So before we call it a day, I'm just going to do a little deep dive on our Bincom Global Tech Program. So Bincom Global Tech Program is a solution for you to launch your tech career globally, learn skills. We have an individual and customized learning path for you. We also have mentors and facilitators at every skill level, and we have co-working spaces where you could join us from with internet access. If you want to gain experience, we have real life projects that you would work on so you can grow. We have internship and tech apprenticeship. We can also help you build your resume with clients at every level. If you need exposure, we have an international career packaging and placement. We have guided access to international tech ecosystem. We also have opportunities for you to work with global startups and corporates. Then if you want to learn tech now and pay later, check the link So sorry about the network glitch. Okay, please, I'm really sorry about the network glitch. So I was talking about our Global Tech Program. If you're interested in any of our services or specifically the Bincom Global Tech Program, do well to check the chat. We've dropped suitable links for you to enroll and register for this program. Okay, so I don't know if anyone has any contribution or anything to say or chip in before we call it a day. All right, Mr. Adenka, please, do you have any last words or final message you'd like to share with everyone, sort of an encouragement before we call it a day?
All right, thank you very much for the opportunity given to share my experience. And I appreciate the audience as well. But I have a take-home advice to everyone now. Not everyone can be a software engineer, but there are a number of fields that you can participate as well in the tech ecosystem. Do well to explore different career paths, and you can find your niche where you can make impact, and not just being someone who is the beneficiary of the digital revolution. It comes with its advantages as well. It's a means of you making money as well. I know everyone wants to make money. It's not always easy, but it's a fruitful endeavor. Don't just embrace. You can, from any background, participate and make impact so that everyone lives a purposeful life for the coming generation. Thank you very much.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for that. We've really enjoyed this session. And thank you to everyone who made it possible to join us today. For those of you joining us from Gombe, we really appreciate. Those of you joining us from Ibadan, we really appreciate. And then I'm also Yaba, Lagos State. We are so grateful. Thank you so much for taking out time to join us in this session. Remember that embracing digital revolution involves adapting to change, staying open-minded, and continually exploring new possibilities that technology offers. So while there are challenges and uncertainties, the opportunities for innovation and growth is vast. So up your game, stay updated, follow the trends, and trust me, you go beyond the sky. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for taking our time to join this session. Do have a lovely weekend and have a great day as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Arigato.
Thank you, everyone.